Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning. Parents, what if we could give you the power to transform your family into something absolutely amazing?
A family where everyone is healthy, gets along, loves Jesus, and has great purpose in life.
Hey, let us flip your thinking to unlock the power God has given you to create your own Crazy Cool family.
Hey, this is Jeff Zog from the Dad Awesome podcast. I love the Crazy Cool family, and specifically I hopped into Basecamp, all of these resources, the video resources, the specific guides that let me put the names of my daughters and my wife, and just showing me visually, hey, am I making progress? What areas can I attend more to? So I'm so thankful. I want to encourage you guys to hop into Basecamp, sign up, dive into those first intro videos. It's been so helpful for my family.
Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast again with Don and Suzanne Manning.
I'm Suzanne.
Yes, you are. And I'm Don. So we're going through our Fight series. We're going to
Fight for Family series.
That's right. We are fighting for family and showing you how.
And we are all the way to the letter H. But before we talk about the letter H, let's just talk about, give
that brief overview.
Yeah, brief overview. God gave us the word fight for families, and we thought about it. I actually fought with the word fight on what does that mean for our family. And there's tons of ways to fight with your family. But as we broke it down.
Tons of ways to fight with your family.
And for your family and about your family, but definitely with your family. We're actually not going to talk about that.
No, we're not going to talk about that at all.
Although that one would be fun.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, though, so as we broke down the word fight, there were some things that kind of bubbled to the top that made sense. Like
yep.
F is for faith. You have to have that as a foundation. I is for inspire. That's how we direct our kids best. We just talked about G, which is just to give our best to our kids so that they can be their best. And then today we are going to talk about what I would think is one of the most valuable, practical, yet simple ways for us to fight for our kids. And it's just to hug them. Yep. Just to hug them. I was talking to Maddox and he goes, I wouldn't have thought hug. I would have thought humble, humility, any of those things. And I said, no, buddy, don't you get it? We have to bring that physical affection. Yeah. We have to give that from the family. We have to be the ones that do that so that they're not looking for it anywhere else. I
love the story of the prodigal son. And it's in Luke 15 if you want to go read it. But in the prodigal son story, you remember the son takes the father's inheritance, his portion of the inheritance, and he goes reckless living. He has, he does all the bad things, and he loses all his money.
Right.
All his friends leave him at that point, his quote unquote friends, and he winds up working as basically with the pigs and wanting to eat what the pigs are eating because he's so hungry. And he finally wakes up one day and he says, I'm going to go home.
Right.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to humble myself before my father. I'm going to be his servant.
Because Dad treats his servants better than these guys.
Yes, and he's getting treated, trying to eat the things that pigs are eating. And he takes this long walk home and he's preparing his speech, everything he's going to say to his dad. But then it says, and this is what relates to what we're talking about today. It says, but while the son was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, i.e. hugged him, and kissed him.
Yeah. And I absolutely love that scene because so much was given in that hug. So much was exchanged and revealed. There was the speech that the shame and the guilt speech was dismissed completely. And it gave the son acceptance and it invited him back in, and it actually dismissed everything he had just done, and it bridged the gap to celebrating because my son is alive and he is home, all in a hug.
Yeah, which really says, our kids, everyone in life needs physical affection. And so they're going to get it some way. We all are going to get it some way. And so we don't want the world to supply the physical affection in our family. We want to be the suppliers of physical affection in our family. We got to fill that need.
Exactly. The social media, displaced friendships, pornography, entertainment, it's there. Just like you said, it is there. there is a physical need, there is a human need for it, and if we don't get it, it creates a vacuum. And so where do we get it? We get it from the world if we don't get it from home. And so it is a very valuable tool to put in your arsenal when you're fighting for your family.
And so we were laughing about this within our family because a psychologist did a study, and her results came up with that you need 4 days a hug.
No, 4 hugs.
4 days a hug. 4 hugs a day for survival. And you need 8 hugs a day for maintenance, and you need 12 hugs a day for growth.
And we were laughing because we're like, what does that exactly mean? So if you don't get 4 hugs a day, are you not surviving?
Yeah.
I mean, you go home and die? I mean, what is it?
I think there's some days that I'm not surviving then.
Well,
because,
maybe so.
Yeah. So, but you know, we need, what the point of the study is that hugs and physical affection is so valuable in our lives.
And I think it's easy with little kids. Like I know when my kids were littler, and our grandbabies, Truett and Sebastian and Everly, they definitely get 12 hugs a day for growth. I mean, you can't help but not. You pick them up for something and they're just so squishy and fat, and their little elbows and their little fat arms. I can't even stand it. And so I'm always hugging them. I alone, when I'm around them, give them 12 hugs a day.
Which means you get 12 hugs.
Well, and then their parents are probably giving them that many too. And so small children get that usually. They are filled up with that. There's study after study done of small children that don't get that and what that looks like, and how they are detached from society and they're detached from themselves. And so, but I think that in a healthy situation, our small children are probably getting that. It's our bigger kids that might not be getting it, which is where the challenge is. Because even as I was talking to Maddox, he goes, "Oh yeah, I probably don't get 4 hugs a day."
Right.
And I was like,
and he's 18.
Oh, that's so sad. I said, Maddox, you're going to church. You're going to church tomorrow. So get 12, 15, 20, 80. Get them all so that they can divide out through the week. And he's like, Mom, I don't think it works that way.
Yeah. And there's, hugs are power. In our show notes, we're going to give you 25 reasons hugs are very important.
Well, and I think that like we are created to be hugged, and so if you think about that, a newborn, and I think it does, and a newborn desperately needs to be touched, needs to be held. I mean, more hours in the day than not. But then that transitions to the toddler where they need to be cuddled, to the child that when they're hurt, their mom wants to just scoop them up and love them and take care of them. To the teenage girl, the best thing you can do is to hug her when she's sad, when she's upset.
Yeah, I don't know how many times my daughters have been sad about something, and words don't matter. You just need to give them a hug.
Yes, especially a big daddy hug. A big daddy hug that scoops them up and shows them that everything's okay in your big, strong arms.
It goes all the way to, I remember, even your extended family, your grandparents. I remember my mom's mom, who lived to be 108 years old.
Yes.
And she was basically, her outside was shut down, but the inside, because she couldn't hear, but she just loved to have a little kid in her lap.
Oh, yes.
Because that was all she wanted.
Touch.
Yeah, it was that touch.
Yeah. Okay, so Dawn was saying that hugs are powerful, they're meaningful. And so in the show notes, we have a list of 25 reasons to hug. And if you were to research it, you could find hundreds and hundreds of reasons to hug. Right. Most of them dealing with your health and, whatever that is. But we're just going to share a few of those with you, that's a few of our favorites.
Yeah, one of them is, it's just like we were talking about with the girls, hugs deliver love and acceptance. Just like the prodigal son, when the dad hugged him, he felt loved and accepted. He felt, like he was forgiven.
Well, and they tell the person that they matter. I mean, that's what the dad did with the prodigal son. You matter to me. It doesn't matter that you spent all that money. It doesn't matter the things that you've done. What matters is that you're here and you're in my life right now.
Right.
And when we do that with our children, we're saying the same thing to them. You matter to me. You're important. You're valuable.
The other day, hugs build, one of the things that I see in here is hugs build trust. So the other day we were, Suzanne and I and our 2 boys were out at a hibachi place, and we had our grandson Truett with us.
He's 3.
Well, and he's scared of fire.
Yeah.
And so of course the hibachi
he had a bad thing with fire in our stairwell, and a candle and a piece of paper, and the house almost set on fire. So it's justified.
So the hibachi thing, all of a sudden, he's sitting right beside me, and the hibachi thing just goes shoosh.
And we had told him, is there going to be a fire? That's how they're cooking the food. There's going to be a fire.
But telling him didn't work, because when he saw that fire, he was terrified. What did he do? He ran to Pops, and he got in my lap. And so when he sat in my lap and I was able to hold him and give him a hug and give him that sense of safety, now when the fire came the next time, he was like, hey, I wasn't scared of the second fire. I wasn't, and he told us all, he told everybody, told his mom, everybody, Mom, I wasn't scared of the second fire, because now he was in a place where he felt safe.
Right.
And that's what physical affection does. It brings a sense of safety and trust.
Yeah, and another thing that it does too is it brings us into the present moment. Have you ever been spinning out of control? You're so worried about a situation or maybe sad about a situation, and somebody just scoops you up in a giant hug, and all of a sudden it almost erases all that. Even if it's just for a couple seconds, it just erases it all, and it pulls you into the present moment, into what's happening right now, and just lets you flow with life and love and acceptance and all the things. So powerful. I mean, there's nothing better than a full frontal hug with your spouse, eye contact, hi, honey, mwah, glad you're home,
Getting a little intimate there. Huh?
Which, I mean, that's another thing. It builds intimacy. It builds connection with your spouse more than words can. I mean, it's so much more valuable. A hug is so much more valuable than words, because it hits all of those nonverbal receptors.
Right. Does so much good for us. When we were, did you want to share any more of those 25?
No. Go check the rest of them. No. You can,
So, as we were preparing the podcast, we talked to Maddox a little bit about hugging, and he shared some thoughts with us that I thought were pretty insightful.
He just said, Mom, when I connect with God, I imagine him giving me a giant hug. And I love that. And I'm the same way as Maddox.
Does that count towards the 12 when God gives you a hug?
Most definitely. That's probably like exponentially, right? God's hug times 4, when the little parentheses. He just said that that's how he connects with God. That's how he feels accepted and loved. And I just think that is so powerful. When the God of the universe is hugging us, it changes everything. And it's not a handshake or a wink or a nod like, hey, bud, you're okay. I mean, maybe that's fine too. But when it's a full body hug, it goes back to that prodigal son. Yeah. It's the same thing. That's how God wants to connect with us. That's how he wants to. And for me, I always thought, I don't know if you've ever seen the Lincoln Memorial before, but it's giant. And so God is giant, and I don't want to by any means limit God to the Lincoln Memorial, the size of that. But I think about
Do you think he looks like Abraham Lincoln, maybe?
I don't. But crawling up in the lap of that giant statue, it's as big as I could think of, but crawling up into the lap of God and just being there, cuddling up into being scooped into a hug. That's the same thing. And so as parents, when we do that with our children, we're actually showing them that this is what the God of the universe wants to do with you, is doing with you, is doing it with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So...
And he was also talking about significant moments where he remembered hugs and how they impact him with our family and things like that.
Well, and I thought it was so profound that he said this, because he goes, I don't know if it's more valuable the significant moment that the hug creates or the physical ramifications of the hug. Because, when you hug, your whole body is... electrified, if you will. You feel it physically. Mm-hmm. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he goes, well, and then he just went off on a long list of times that he remembered, like hugging Michael at Hub Camp, their youth camp, or hugging a friend after they accepted Jesus on a mission trip, or hugging the sisters when they come home from, when they come home to visit. And he just rattled off all these significant moments. And I thought, that is profound. Because when we do that with our kids, when they win the state championship or when they lose the state championship, and we give them a hug, how incredible is that? If the hug is with tears or the hug is with joy, it's significant. Yep. It's in there. And so not only is it a physical thing, but it's also a mental thing. They're also thinking about it, feeling it. Yeah. So powerful.
Yeah, and really going back to that example of God, when we hug our children, it gives them the example of God hugging them and giving them confidence and security and acceptance. There's so many, like Maddox remembered, there were valuable memories made through hugs. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy to do. Well, I say it's easy for me. I'm not really a hugger, and so I don't know that it's easy for everyone.
So you don't think of it?
Well, not only do I not think of it, sometimes it's even kind of with it can even be awkward because I just don't, I just haven't been raised with a lot of physical affection. And so I think it can be hard for some people.
And so, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's skip down and talk about that for just a second. So what do you do if you don't like to hug? Would you say you don't like to hug?
Oh, I think that sometimes I don't really see as much value in it as others do. Like even you think about the 5 love languages. Some people are more physical affection.
Right.
I'm lower with that. I'm much more about I'll have a conversation with someone or whatever and or encourage someone, and that would be much more my language. I do it anyway.
Because do you think, like, if you think about it, you'll do it, but you might not think about it.
Yeah, and I just really try to do it, especially with my kids and with my grandkids and with my wife, especially with my family. It's just that, seeing the value of it and doing it anyway.
Yeah, so I'm not a hugger either, and we're about the same on the physical level. It's shocking we have 7 kids because we're right there the same. So our physical touch is pretty low, but I do agree with the value of hugging. But to me, sometimes it feels like a hug is awkward. You go into one side and they go into that side too, or you can't do a full front hug. You got to do a side hug, and then like when you hug an elderly person, are you going to hurt them, and then you hug a little kid and they might not want to be hugged. And so to me, I way overthink it. I way think it too much. And so doing this research and studying this, I've realized, back off, Suzanne, get out of your head and just go in for the hug. Right. And if you need to, say, hey, would it be okay if I hugged you? Or I would really like to hug you. Use your words to set the tone, but make sure the hug happens. And then you introduce all this COVID stuff, and you got to say, how do you hug somebody 6 feet apart, right? And so I think that's part, but even with that, I think that you could say, hey, I just want you to know I'd love to hug you right now. But I understand, you're wearing a mask and you don't want to be hugged. So just a hug from afar, and put your hands out and do that. It's the intention behind it is what we're talking about. It's the willingness. It's the desire to do that. And so anyway, what do you do if you don't? Oh,
go ahead.
I was just going to go on with what do you do if you don't like to hug?
Yeah, I think one is do it anyway, but also just asking the Lord to give you more. God wants us to have physical affection. So often, even in Scripture, we see the people hugged, they embraced, or, even in the Bible, they talk about how they greeted with a kiss, and stuff like that. So I'm not sure I want to go there. But, in our culture, it's more like a hug, and just be willing to ask God for more of that. And even sometimes you mentioned it here about what happens if your child doesn't like to be hugged. Some kids are more resistant to affection. And then I think even that is just to go hug them anyway, and keep, so really just fighting through those things. Realizing, I think what we're saying a lot is that physical affection's valuable. And there's a lot of times that we don't like doing things, but we ask God for more provision, more grace, and we do it anyway.
Yeah, and so as you're thinking about that, I don't like to hug, okay, why don't you like to hug? Think about that. Ask God to give you the desire to hug. Flip your thinking and realize, okay, hugs are valuable, so it doesn't matter. We take out the trash, we pay our taxes, we do things we don't want to do all the time.
Right.
And so once we understand it's valuable for me to take out the trash and pay the taxes, it's valuable for me to hug. And so just, once again, I said it earlier, add the hug to your arsenal when you're fighting for your family.
Yeah, and I think also what happens is as you do it more, you like it more.
Oh, yeah. And you realize, it's not that bad. It's not that awkward. It's not that weird. And so with your kids, when if they don't like to be hugged, like Truett is not a physical touch.
3.
Everly, who is 1, absolutely loves it, will crawl up with anybody's lap and hug anybody. She wants to put her hand like right inside your shirt so that she can feel your heartbeat. She just wants to be as close as she can possibly be to you. And Truett's just the opposite. You have to, and so I love what his parents have done with him. They have created times to hug him, because even if he doesn't want it, he still needs it. It's still valuable. Remember, 12 hugs a day, to grow, and he needs to grow. And so bedtime, okay, you're going to bed, let's give each other a hug. Or you woke up, well, good morning, or you've been gone all day, it's so good to see you. Oh, you got a boo-boo, let me hug you. And so I think that it's valuable and important for us to put in places to hug when we don't want to hug, or when the person doesn't want to be hugged.
Well, and let's kind of talk through this as we start to land the plane a little bit here, but going to different ages of kids, and we've talked about how to get over hugs and all that, and how to put it on. But at different ages, it looks different. We got parents with kids of all ages, so let's kind of walk through that. So
age-based affection is what you could call it.
Right, there you go.
And so obviously the infant you cannot touch them enough. There was a theory out there younger when we were raising our kids that it's like you need to have the kid needs to learn how to put themselves to sleep, and you need to have them in their bed, and they need to have alone time, and they need to have whatever that is. And that's fine if you agree with that, but I am of the belief system that a newborn has been in utero that's all they know their whole life, and so they need to transition from be independent, and that's okay if you spend the first 3 months holding them. I mean, that's okay to transition through that. And so, but then babies, I mean, they're going to get that affection because you're carrying them. They're not mobile. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a default. And toddlers,
they're also light.
Yeah, and they're easy to carry. Yeah, toddlers get a lot heavier. The 3-year-olds want me to carry them, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I do not have the muscles built up to carry you anymore. But they're good about cuddles. I mean, and so toddlers, you're going to want to cuddle them, build times to cuddle them. And now we get to children. Now it gets a little bit more difficult because they're much more independent. They're doing their own thing. And so as a child, you just need to think in your mind, okay, they need several hugs a day. When am I going to give those? When something good happens, oh my goodness, that was so good. Let me give you a hug. When something bad happens, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. Let me give you a hug.
Right.
If they do something for you, oh, you cleaned the bathroom. Let me give you a hug. Thank you so much. Oh, you know what? Let me give you a hug before you go clean the bathroom. It's time for you to clean your room up, but come here and let me give you a hug. And so just working those times in there with a child.
Let me ask you something here that I want to just stop. We can go to teenagers in just a second, but what do you do when forcing kids to hug? I mean, I think it's a great point to talk about in this, because so often we're like, go hug your aunt, or come give me a hug, and it becomes kind of a manipulative thing. And when they don't do it, it's wrong, and and all that. How would you suggest that parents handle those situations?
Oh yeah, that's so good. I am adamantly opposed to forcing a child to hug, just because depending on who the child is, if they're a shy child or an introvert child, or they don't like physical touch, and so you're pushing them to basically not be who they are, not be who they're created to be. And so if you have great Aunt Lucy that loves to be hugged, then on your way over there, say, I know that you're not real fired up about hugging great Aunt Lucy, but it would really bless her if you hugged her. If you went and hugged her, she just doesn't get little girl hugs very often, or little boy hugs. And so I would set my child up for success on the front end, and I would not say to them in the situation, hug your, give me a hug your. Now that's different. There's a lot of older people that expect a hug from a child. Mm-hmm. They just expect it, and
they expect a 2-year-old, or expect even a 3 or 4-year-old, in which they may have fear.
They do, and I mean, this scary old lady coming at them, and so that's to work on that on the front end, and to talk to your child on the front end is what I would do with that. But in the moment, I would actually come to the rescue of my child and say, you know what, we're not going to hug today, or she's not going to hug, or we're working on hugging, or that's one of the places that we're working on, and basically adult to adult handling the situation and not putting my child in that awkward place.
What if your kid doesn't want to hug you as a parent?
And so that's very, very valid. And so that's a big question. And so I would say 2 things. One, why? Press in why. Why do they not trust you? Do they not feel like you're safe? Are you angry? Are you yelling at them? Do you maybe not deserve their hugs because of your behavior? Or is it them? Do they not like to be touched? Do they not feel comfortable? And if it's you, then change you. If it's them, then figure out other ways. Like, I know a lot of the times we get around at high five. Let's just do a high five. Let's do a fist bump. Let's do a hip bump, or something like that, so that you're getting that touch in there. You're getting that affirmation through physical touch, but it might not be a full
and the
hug.
point I want to make in that really is not forcing the issue so much, is really just it may be just they're in a bad mood that day.
Exactly.
Letting it go. And if it's a pattern, then you deal with it differently than if it's a one-time thing or something like that. Sometimes they may just not want to be hugged that day or something like that, or that hour or whatever that time is.
So I know one of the hardest times our kids, and for me too, even as a little girl, to hug my parents or for our kids to hug us was right after they were disciplined. Mm-hmm. Because they're sorting through all that and they're trying to figure out if they're mad and they want to withhold their affections. And so we would say, okay, I understand you're unhappy right now. I completely get it. To finish this circle up though, I want to hug. We're going to have to hug at some point in time. And so let's just keep that in mind, but it doesn't have to be right now.
Right. And I just wanted to take a little side note on that because I think that happens a lot with, how hugs are used as kind of a manipulative tool sometimes.
Yes.
And it's not good.
Yeah, and that's not what we're talking about when we're fighting for our family, not manipulating.
So
don't get off the podcast and say, okay, I have to hug you 12 times a day, whether you like it or not, kid.
Come here, son.
1, 2, 3 hugs.
See all these parents chasing their kids around. Chasing
their Manning said.
Yeah, chasing their teenagers. So let's talk about teenagers. I think sometimes that is the most awkward hugging stage
ever. So awkward because they can't figure out who they are and you can't figure out who they are, and the dad-daughter thing is awkward and the mom-son thing is awkward, and then man-to-man hugs are just awkward in general. And so with teenagers, you have to be strategic. You have to put places in the day that trigger you to hug them, or else you will go days and days and days. I go days and days and days without hugging them.
Right.
And so one of the best things to do is hello, when they walk into the house. Or else we'll be standing in the kitchen and I'll just walk across the kitchen and say, I just have to hug you. I just because, you're just, oh my gosh, you're so huggable, or something like that.
I don't say that a lot.
Now moms can get away with a lot more mushy than guys can.
That's right.
And so you just have to be strategic with that. You have to be aware of it and just hear this most importantly with teenagers. They need it. And they want it, and they are craving it. And if we don't give it to them, then they're going to get it from their girlfriend or their boyfriend or from the girl they're flirting with or from whoever that is. They're going to get it because they need it. And so let's fill that gap.
I think that's
for
a
them.
Great point to put out, that they need it and they want it even though they don't act like it.
Oh, yeah, to make sure that, they don't act, oh, Mom, they're going to be like, whatever.
Yeah.
But actually, the boys have even warmed up to it a little bit more, realizing it. And even talking to Maddox about this, he's like, oh, I didn't realize that I needed 12 hugs a day.
Right.
Okay.
What about, young adults, if you have those, there's, as our kids
hellos,
come in.
Goodbyes, I love you, hugs. Yeah, just there's different certain little places.
But even then with my daughters that are married, just coming in and getting, Mackenzie was over here this weekend and she walked out of the room as we were doing breakfast. And I just gave her a hug, it was a little side hug. Hey, Mackenzie, good morning. It was like, and I think that speaks to them.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. And then spouses. I've already said it once, but full hug at least once a day.
That's the one you get permission.
Yes, definitely. No, yeah. And then of course more hugs are better, but at least one, we for sure don't hug very often, and we for sure don't hug in the morning because I'm usually in bed when he gets up. But like coming home from work, that needs to be a place where that's just, you just greet each other, you hug each other, you acknowledge each other. I just think that's investment in the relationship.
And spouses can do it as you go to bed. You can kind
of, bed hugs are completely different. We won't even talk about bed hugs, but yes, we're talking about.
You can even have more opportunities with your spouse, is what I'm saying, because you're in different places with them than you are. Well, sometimes the kids are in your bed too, but a whole other story there.
Yeah.
And even the elder, like your parents and things like that.
Yeah.
It can be, you might be coming from a family. I remember a guy telling me a story one time about how his family never said I love you and never really hugged. And he was raised that way. And he just purposed with his mom and dad to always tell him he loved him and always hug him. Mm-hmm. And how it improved.
And now they do that to him.
Yes, and how it improved that relationship. Exactly. And so sometimes be the initiator with your parents. You can impact that relationship as well.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
So have we talked about hugging enough?
Okay, so let's wrap up and just say we must add hugging to our arsenal as we fight for our children and our families. We have to be the ones, parents, we have to be the ones filling that need. It's way too costly to have that need met, that need for physical touch to be met outside of our families. It's way too costly. It's an affair. It's a teenager doing something they shouldn't be doing. It's just not worth it. And it's so simple. It's so easy. It's so easy to do.
8 to 12 times a day.
Exactly. 4 is not near enough.
Yeah, that's
8 to
right.
12, minimum's 4.
So you need so take a little clicker with you, and so you can go throughout the day. And
Tally mark on the refrigerator.
Exactly.
So go hug your kids. That's what you have an assignment. You have homework after this podcast. After you listen to it, go hug your kids. Go hug your spouse. Hug the dog if you want to. Because know that when you are giving a hug, however many hugs you give today, that's exactly how many hugs you're going to get.
Yeah, you're building your own quota.
Yes, exactly. And all the benefits that you give with a hug, you also get. We didn't even talk about the benefits that you get.
Oh, there's 25. There's 25 of them in the show notes. We got them right. We got them down. You can go listen.
If you have not been talked into and convinced enough that hugging is worth it and valuable, then go read the list in the show notes. There will be one in there you'll be like, oh, that's why I'm hugging.
So parents, go hug your kids, hug your spouse. All those physical affection is important. It really is. It's been a lively podcast. It's been a funny podcast, but it really is serious. It really is serious that hugs make a difference.
Right.
And you literally give your kids security. You give them life. You give them
acceptance,
confidence,
connection.
Yes, all those
all
things.
The good words.
Just through a simple hug.
Yeah.
So go be hugging crazy cool parents, crazycoolfamily.com.